Is a divorce necessary for one of the spouses to qualify for Medicaid? No. So I wanted to do this video because this still comes up in our office from time to time. And honestly, it's really an antiquated notion where it used to be a thing, and a term was even used for it, medical divorce. It used to be a thing where in order for one spouse to be able to qualify for Medicaid, couples needed to get legally divorced so that the spouse who needed to qualify for Medicaid could have no assets or very little assets in their name in order to meet the qualification. Currently, you can have up to $2,000 in assets. So it means all of your assets one day out of the month cannot be more than $2,000, or all the assets that are counted towards Medicaid. So it excludes things like the home and a vehicle. But essentially, the spouses would get divorced so that one spouse can have almost no assets so that they could qualify for Medicaid, and then the spouse who they were divorced from would keep all the assets. However, as the legislature sort of saw this as, unnecessary, meaning creating all these illegal divorces just for the purpose of qualifying for Medicaid, it seemed really silly. So they implemented other tools. Spousal refusal is one of them. That's used often when one of the spouses has to go into an actual treatment facility, like a nursing care facility. The spouse who stays at home is able to keep all the assets, the assets that were joint assets can be transferred into that spouse's name. Even the spouse who's receiving care, their assets can go to the other spouse. An unlimited amount of assets can go to the spouse who's staying at home. And if these assets are over a certain amount, the spouse can simply sign something saying they're refusing to contribute to their spouse's care. Now, although that sounds really insensitive, really they're doing it for the purpose to allow Medicaid to kick in, because if the spouse who's staying at home is refusing to cover the care, then Medicaid can kick in at that point, and the spouse who's in the facility can receive care because they no longer have any assets in their name that would disqualify them. And a spousal refusal, along with certain estate planning techniques, can also make it so that this money can't be clawed back, or Medicaid can't recover certain funds after the spouse who is in the home or the nursing home passes away. That's for another video. For the purpose of this video, though, I really wanted to focus on the fact that I still have people reaching out to me who are being given incorrect advice that they have to divorce their spouse if they want to qualify for Medicaid, which is simply not true. Even in an instance where you have a spouse who is going to be receiving, or who you want to be receiving, in-home care, right? If you're trying to keep the spouse who needs medical assistance home as long as possible, you're just trying to qualify for some in-home assistance through Medicaid. Even in that instance, there is a certain amount of assets the other spouse who's not receiving the care is permitted to retain, and the spouse at home who needs the care, as long as those assets are no longer in their name, either as joint assets or individual assets owned just by them, then that spouse can still qualify to receive a certain amount of care at home with Medicaid assistance. And there's all sorts of advanced planning techniques now that can be used, especially in the state of Florida, that make it so you don't have to worry or stress about divorcing your spouse, right? Or making it so, we can't actually be together anymore. We have to act like we're not really together, but we're still together. We're living in the same home, but we're divorced. You don't actually have to go through that process any longer. It's not workable. The government saw it wasn't workable. So there's tons of other methods that are available to you to fix the issue if one spouse is in need of Medicaid and the other spouse isn't. So if this is something that you need assistance with, or you're worried that you could need assistance with down the line, so you just want to get some advice, it's really important to reach out to an attorney who actually practices elder law in the area where you live. If you're in Florida and you want some assistance with this, or you just want to talk about what your options might be even long term, or just sort of seeing like, if this happens, then what can we do? Please don't hesitate to contact us. Again, if you're in Florida, we are at Cause Law Office, the non-stuffy attorneys, and the link is in my bio.